Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's guest is a beautiful person that I admire so much. She's an amazing model and an art director, like super perfectionist. This is Laura. Today we are eating from a cafe that you introduced me to.
Yeah, that's a cafe in the neighborhood. It's called Good News. I was saying this morning, like, they stopped saying hello because it's like I'm never leaving from the place.
Yeah. So I think let's get started. I want to ask you about your childhood. What kind of girl were you when you were little, and what were you interested at the time?
I grew up in Minsk. That's the capital of Belarus in post-Soviet time.
Yes.
As a child, I was super curious kid. There was no subject I was bored about.
Really?
Like, yeah, and it was like strange because, you know, normally you develop some sort of inclination towards
One thing,
yeah, or another. But for me, it was like everything, you know. So in a way, it is what happened. In those years, 90s and 2000, like, you know, in Eastern Europe, it was very, very difficult situation, economically, politically. I think my generation is with parents who want to make sure that their kids will have a solid education so they can make money, you know, and have a stable life. Eventually, I ended up in studying telecommunications, and I have my degree as an engineer in telecommunications.
Wow.
So I'm an engineer who never worked a day in life by my profession. It's a great memory. And I also believe that first of all, school or university, it's a place where you learn some social values and, you know, being responsible and having a
work in a group.
Yes, being a team worker.
Exactly. Yeah. How did you get into modeling? Was it like a specific moment or situation when you decided to take that path? Did you get scouted by somebody or you did it yourself?
Yeah, I did it myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was looking at the magazines from a very young age. I always liked it secretly, you know. But in Belarus, I did not feel that I was connecting with the scene.
So you always knew there is another place for you, there is another story, destination for you. Like
there was a moment in my life I was in Italy and we were traveling, so it was a vacation. I made a mini list of the agencies. I didn't know that many, so I just knew, you know, the biggest ones.
But you go big or you go home, or you stay home.
Exactly, so everyone has their own story, and my story was I just went there, I knocked on the door, out of the blue, this girl at the...
Hello, who are you? I'm sorry. Like, do you have an appointment?
Yeah. And I went to the biggest agencies. I signed the contract the very same day.
Really? With who?
Yeah, with Next.
With Next?
Yeah.
Yes, you were manifesting in that thought of leaving.
The power of intention.
Yeah, power of intention. Yeah. I mean, so I have another question for you. Why did you decide to move to France? What was the trigger for you making this decision?
I started to work with Vione in Milan. Each season we would go together to Paris. And I fell in love.
Yeah. And you signed with another agency here when you moved?
Yeah, I was with the New Medicine at the time.
New Medicine.
Now I'm with Mademoiselle.
So you also worked in Asia?
Yeah.
Where?
In Thailand, in Indonesia, and in India. At that time, I didn't focus on modeling. I needed to sort of a total reboot, and then, you know, India changed my life forever.
Definitely.
And I was lucky, I really had a good representation there. So I did a lot of interest in actually fantastic jobs.
I'm gonna insert some images of this work now here. Need to think ahead. What are the 3 most valued qualities for when it comes to being an artist or a model? How would you describe your work ethic?
Working as a creative also means working in the team. It is extremely important to be respectful and kind to people you work with. No matter what, no matter how talented and creative you are, I think we all deserve to be treated well. And it is our responsibility to treat people well.
Treat people how you want to be treated.
Yes. Also, I think for artists it is very important to stay grounded. You know, there always should be some sort of rooting.
If you feel like you're welcomed, you're heard, and people are treating you with respect, you're also willing to give more
take the critique in a positive way, turn your whatever you consider to be a failure in a useful lesson. Perhaps it's something that we work towards our entire life, but just to keep that in the head is good.
When you work on a new shoot or project, do you have a specific ritual maybe?
Yeah, for example, as a model, very often we get to know what is the shoot about on the day of the shoot itself.
Oh.
Like, I'm arrived with my whatever natural look, and as it develops, I already sort of automatically get into the character.
Before you go to casting, do you have a specific way of how you prepare for it?
I always do research for the casting.
Ah, really?
Yes. So mentally I'm prepared. So I know the aesthetics of the brand. And also it's my way of being respectful. Exactly.
It comes down to being respectful again.
Yeah.
But what was the biggest number of castings you had in a day?
I think that was during Fashion Week, and around 20
castings in a day?
I can't really say. From 10 to 20 is
wow.
And I think some girls, they had more. For Fashion Week castings, it's just basically you go for walks, you know. You don't but still, you know, it's the energy that you bring in the casting. First of all, you know, it comes with the feeling, right?
Yeah, so right? But as you said, research is so important. If you have time, Google their fashion show.
You don't want to meet a very important person without even knowing who he or she is. I mean, it's just so...
It costs you your opportunity, your job. So, you know, education is key, kids. But as an art director, how do you start?
So there is a lot of preparation here, like as a main difference from modeling. You know, you already have so many ideas by the time you come on set. And then the next interesting thing happens is you have to detach from everything that you have prepared, pretty much, you know?
Yeah, let go with an open heart, like...
I guide them with my directions in a way...
Like smoothly.
Yeah.
You know? I've worked with you a few times. In a way, you always give a key direction, but then you still leave enough space for everyone to feel comfortable to like add ideas.
Oh, I like this comparison with an orchestra and a conductor.
Nice.
So I'm a conductor, but then, you know, you all playing the music, and I'm just there to
direct, to conduct.
I mean, I don't know either, I'm just improvising.
I would like to know how you handle a situation where a photographer doesn't properly direct you as a model.
I realized later on that it is not about people not given proper directions, it is the way they communicate the idea, because you can explain it in one way. A stylist can explain exactly the same idea in completely different ways. We all need to include like sort of a sixth sense, you know. We're trying to align in our thought process more than in words.
And do you have any experience with criticism?
You should never leave like a bitter taste, I think. Because no one is aiming to like hurt you or insult you on purpose.
Yeah, it depends, but in any way, like you cannot teach everyone how to be proper.
Exactly.
And unfortunately,
and fight with everybody.
Your body and your face is literally your mean of earning money, so you need to really grow thick skin and believe in yourself and love yourself and
but it is so encouraging, you know, to see how industry is changing today.
Do you feel that change really, personally?
Absolutely. I see how many different kind of models around me. Today, those limits are pushed.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. But at some point for me, it was also a conscious choice that, you know, I don't want to starve myself or like feel depressed in order to fit certain standards. And I prefer to be happy and do healthy, yes.
What was the wildest shoot you ever had to work on? It can be a good or bad experience.
Everything is outside the range of normal, or it's just that you who's pushing the boundaries of normal, so nothing is really, you know, that extreme. So
just
maybe one I would like to mention was my show for Yoji Yamamoto, and this is the designer whom I inspired by so much. So it was a true privilege, you know, to work with him. Or like climbing up at 3 in the morning on some volcano, you know, to meet the sunrise. Yeah, I did this shoot in Bali. Maybe also another shoot that comes to my mind is something that we worked on not that long ago with you. You were on set for Harvey Nichols with Simon. Do you remember?
Yeah, of
and
course.
You were so excited
Simon.
to work with him. You were so happy.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that we would be there with
exactly.
you on the same set.
Yeah.
The weather was horrible. With the light and then the rain and me dancing in the rain, trying not to get wet.
Me trying to cover Simon, not to get wet with the camera.
And we're in the middle of the city, the opera, with like so many people and cars and everything is around us. And in this moment that we had to really tune into this sort of deeper connection. Because
what it actually takes to make a good project, and what do you think are some key moments that are necessary for you to succeed?
An idea, a concept that I have to resonate and be passionate about, and even on a commercial project I have to find for myself a personal connection, so I feel the idea I can build on that. It's like my grandmother is one of my biggest inspiration, and I was lucky to shoot a project with her.
Really, you did?
Yeah, I did. You have to see.
Okay.
It's sublime. It was published in Pairs Project, and that's a magazine that only accepts stories shot on film without any retouch. You know, this dogma movement.
Yeah.
Also my first story which I ever directed, which was a beauty story with all the imperfections on the skin and all of that.
When you find beauty in imperfections, this is what kind of distributing the new notion of accepting everything in the industry. Do you have a favorite model, art director or photographer whose work you always come back to?
I really inspired by the work of the Georgian photographer David Georgadze. His work is very artistic and eclectic in a way, so as Leah Colombo, for example, or Hollywood. It's so refreshing to see in the industry this kind of diversity in times like this when the priorities are completely different.
And the heroes and the people we should be looking up to, and the bodies and the standards we should be looking up to are really different. For your future, what attitudes and values do you intend to stick to in your life as a person and as a creative?
Act upon your idea. If you have it, you do it. Otherwise it just will die.
And have good people around you who will support you.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's a risky idea. What would you like to tell your younger self and advice if you could?
There is nothing impossible. Like, biggest limit we have is our own mind.
Fear. And how do you overcome fear?
Action. The best way.
Not a lot of people have an ability to do that. A lot of the time fear overtakes, and then
it's a very strong emotion.
Yeah, it's
like
really strong.
Instinct.
This is when anxiety takes over. So what would you say, for example, the models that are just starting out, going to casting?
What I feel is very important is to develop a trustful relationship with your booker at the agency. It is absolutely normal to ask what to do in this situation. If there are any doubts about the casting or the job, there has to be no fear when talking to booker. And perhaps, as a very good idea, it could be to have an in-house sort of a psychologist, someone who can educate young girls on
building a strong mind,
building a self-confidence. Yes, most of the time it ends up in discussion with other models, or sometimes it's just there,
just
suppressed,
you, on your own,
because perhaps it's something intimidating, embarrassing to share. We have to, but in a safe
environment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending this afternoon with me. I love you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It's such an honor.
Thank you. Is there a person that you would like to nominate to do this interview with me?
Well, if you like to chat next time with Red, my husband, his background is India, so that can be a quite different approach.
Thank you so much for watching this, and please, at this point, since I'm doing a lot of these interviews and I'm gonna continue, maybe give this video a like and subscribe, and thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.